So Alex Caruso is officially an OKC Thunder. What does this mean for the Western Conference? One of the best defensive guards in really modern NBA history is now going to be surrounded by J-Dub, Shea Gilgeous, Lou Dort, Cason Wallace coming off the bench, and all they had to do was get rid of Josh Giddey. The Western Conference is obviously getting better. The Denver Nuggets, on the other hand, have not yet made a move, but are there some things on the horizon that they need to be looking into doing? We're going to talk about all that and more here at Locked On Nuggets.
You are Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yeah, that intro is fire, y'all. What's going on, y'all? Welcome to Locked On Nuggets. This is your host, Swiper. This is your team every day. Shout out to y'all. So glad that y'all are able to tap in with us today. We are officially full swing into the NBA offseason, y'all. And we already got some people in the chat. Daniel, Malik, Big Honey. We got people showing up already, y'all. This has been a very interesting day so far. And the Denver Nuggets, there's more competition for the top of the West in the Western Conference after the Oklahoma City Thunder just seemed to absolutely eviscerate the Chicago Bulls in the trade, y'all. But, y'all, today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Y'all, so the Denver Nuggets are currently sitting kind of pretty. You know, they are looking into re-signing KCP. It really determines what they want to do for a long-term perspective. I believe Abaddon has talked about this a little bit. Matt and myself talked about this a little bit. Ryan Blackburn, I brought on the channel 2 days ago. We talked a little bit about some stuff like this, but the KCP decision is a big decision for the books. And the reason it is because KCP potentially will send the Denver Nuggets into the second apron, which will put them in a very restricted territory financially. The CBA agreement, what it's meant to do is to balance out the league. You got parity. There are 6 straight NBA champions, new NBA champions, and in the Western Conference, we haven't had a repeat team go to the finals in the last 6 years either. So there's a lot of stuff that's happened over the last couple of years that's led up to this moment. And in the CBA, you have to be very conscious of how you're sending out your money, how you're paying players that are in your system, even if you have their bird rights, and also making sure that you're drafting well. Maybe now more than ever, it's very important that if you do get players in your system and you do get players on your roster, that they are hits and that these are players you can play. Christian Brown, definite hit. Peyton Watson at 30 so far has been a hit. There's some development that needs to be there, but that is on the way. It looks very promising. He's already one of the best defensive players in the league. But then you get Zeke Naji, who has shown flashes and potential. His jump shot got changed after his first year. Zeke Naji hasn't been able to stay healthy. They gave him a 4-year, $32 million deal, and he didn't get any time in the NBA playoffs in meaningful minutes behind Nikola Jokic, next to Nikola Jokic, and playing the backup 5 center position. So then you have contracts like that. You got Vlatko Čančar, who's on a very limited money deal, but you know, obviously tore his ACL last year. That restricted their ability to utilize a big 4. So there are players that are on the roster that are contributing on rookie contracts, and there are some that are getting paid like they're expected to be key contributing role players, but they just can't crack the rotation and at least cannot crack it consistently, either because up here they're just not able to lock in like they should, or on the other end, physically, you know, they just haven't had good luck. So Caruso goes to the Thunder, and y'all, I'm not saying that Caruso goes to the Thunder and the Thunder gave up one of their bazillion first-round picks or even 2, and they didn't have to overpay either. But on the other end of this, they literally got the Bulls still have Zach LaVine. They were potentially talking about with the Kings apparently trading Zach LaVine and Alex Caruso. But then instead of that, they leave Zach LaVine open. The Bulls do. They trade Alex Caruso for Josh Giddey, and Josh Giddey comes into the Bulls lineup to apparently play next to Kobe White and maybe Zach LaVine. Don't know. I don't know what they're going to do there. But they let go of Alex Caruso when there were reports that they were getting offered for as many as a first-round pick in assets, or even 2 first-round picks for a player like Alex Caruso, who's age 30. By 6 months from now, I think per Woj, he's going to qualify for a 4-year, $80 million deal. So there's a lot at stake here. Like, The Thunder already have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Cason Wallace, Kenrich Williams, Lou Dort, J-Dub. They're going to get another player again in this draft. Now they're adding another ball handler, another defender, and another wing player to the roster, and you're getting rid of a player that they legitimately didn't close with at times in Josh Giddey, and who's kind of redundant on their roster because they didn't need another ball handler, especially a ball handler that wasn't a plus shooter consistently and wasn't a plus defender. So now then, they're then saying, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to take out this player that has these deficiencies that we don't need, and we're going to add in a 6'5" player that can play post. That's a good screener, a good screen navigator, a good chaser, a good transition player. Oh, and by the way, he shot 40% from three on basically 5 attempts a game this last year. So they get off of Alex Caruso. Josh Giddey's going now into their lineup. He's been in the league for 4 years. And my whole thing is I'm looking at this now saying, why is it that Arturas, number one, for the Chicago Bulls, why would you let go of such an asset, a player of this quality, for so cheap? Now, they apparently were looking for an additional ball handler that has some high upside, which, Josh Giddey can maybe be a 19, 8-8 player. I don't know how effective that's going to be. Maybe his numbers probably do go up because he's a good passer, playmaker, and he's big. So with that alone, again, maybe you get like some Ben Simmons numbers without, any of the defense and a little bit more spacing. But there are things that Josh Giddey can do at a decent level for the Chicago Bulls. But to get off of Alex Caruso, there are teams, including the Nuggets, that would have paid you real premium if they had the opportunity to do so. Real premium to have the opportunity to do so to get Alex Caruso. Y'all, by the way, didn't note this yet. JJ Redick is officially the head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers. Don't know if you knew that. Don't know if you're plugged into Twitter or ESPN or anything at all today, but JJ Redick is officially the Los Angeles Lakers for the head coach. Got a 4-year deal as well. So Caruso goes to the Thunder. The Thunder now have ball handlers everywhere. The Thunder now have players that they can tap into any system and play any style of basketball they need from their guards and wings. Now, they're still small. They're still a little thin. Chet Holmgren, and then they got Jay Will coming off the bench as their 5 rotation. So in the Western Conference, that's still going to be problematic come playoff time. But if you're telling me Jamal Murray, KCP, Reggie Jackson, Jalen Pickett, that's tough. That's tough. And it's tough because now you're in a situation where you're going to have so many on-ball defenders that they're going to be able to throw at Jamal so consistently. So getting an additional ball handler is going to be critical. But we're going to talk on the other side too, because I do think there's some things that Calvin Booth could be doing, because the draft is coming up real quick. But then there are also some veteran options that, again, they might be pricey. But at the end of the day, if you're watching this happen, it's probably important that you're tapping into that trade market as much as possible, given where the Western Conference is headed. We're going to talk about all that and more here on Locked On Nuggets. Y'all, if you like going to MLB games, if you like going to comedy concerts, if you like tapping into theater, anything like that, y'all, Gametime is the place to be. Gametime is an authorized ticket marketplace for Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. Prices on the Gametime actually go down the closer it gets to the first pitch. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, and views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Gametime takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. So, y'all, if you want to see some Rockies games and you're like, want to tap in, go to Coors Field and all that stuff, check Gametime. Gametime is the place to be to make sure you can get the best deal possible for your money. So take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Again, terms apply. Create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNBA, LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. We'll be right back for more here on Locked On Nuggets. Y'all, welcome back to Locked On Nuggets. This is your host, Swiper. Again, the Denver Nuggets The Western Conference is getting even better. Oklahoma City acquires Alex Caruso, gets off of Josh Giddey, and all the on-court and off-court stuff they had to deal with him. This is just a good reset for them as a whole, and OKC is going to improve off this deal alone. But y'all, you see the title. You see the people that are in the headline and the thumbnail for the video. Now, here's the thing. I think that there are certain players that the Nuggets should be looking at, the target, and they're all at premium spots that they're going to need in order to improve their overall chances in the playoffs. Now, let's get to the first one. Now, a lot of people don't know who Ayo Dosunmu is. Ayo is 24 years old. He went to Illinois. He was a second-round pick, actually, 38 overall. But Ayo is a really good player. Like, there's a lot of things that he actually does really well. He's a bigger guard, much more physical guard. Ayo's cash hit this year is going to be $7 million. And then the next year, he has $7.5 million. And then he's an unrestricted free agent in the 2026-2027 season. And if I am the Denver Nuggets and I'm looking to build like the perfect roster around Jamal Murray and a perfect roster with Nikola Jokic, this is absolutely the kind of player that you're looking at. Again, he's about 6. He's listed at 6'5". He's about 6'4.5" or so. And again, it's going to be difficult for the Nuggets to get a player like that out of their system, but this is the kind of player that they need to be looking at. And again, I think for this, what really stresses this moment for me is the fact that literally we just saw the Chicago Bulls just absolutely fleece themselves. And again, I think Josh Giddey's going to have some value on their team. It's not that he's going to not have any value. But you're telling me that, like, you're going to give up Caruso for Giddey? Well, look, Ayo currently, per the numbers, if he's making $7 million a year, look, the Nuggets are going to have that money to play with Zeke Naji. And you know what? Right now, they got Nikola Vucevic. It's playing their main center. They might lose Andre Drummond in free agency. They're going to need a backup big as it is that can play some defense. You know what? The Nuggets have a couple assets, some second-round picks and some swaps they can throw out there, at least a couple second-round or a second round. That's absolutely a player that I'd be targeting if I was the Nuggets. Again, I just cannot get with this idea that we're watching around the league and fans are irate. There are reporters that are irate that just cannot believe that Caruso was given for such low value, especially given the kind of defensive impact that he leaves. And again, he is not just a really good defender. He arguably is the best defender in the league on a possession-by-possession basis, him and Jonathan Isaac. But the thing is the Nuggets now, they're going to have to make sure they are fortifying. They are fortifying their ball rotate, their guard rotation and ball handler rotation, because those players are just going to be so important for what the Nuggets are going to be trying to do to be successful as the year goes on. And it's just going to be really important that they're making sure that Jamal Murray over the course of the season, he doesn't have to just extend just so much energy in order to make every single possession successful as the guard. And then Reggie Jackson as well. Reggie Jackson, we saw, broke down as the year went on, played too many games, played too many minutes. Jalen Pickett, we don't know where he's going to be in terms of his development, in terms of his consistency, in terms of his offensive game. And then on the other end of this as well, that's Michael Malone trusts him enough as a defender to get real minutes. And then Collins going to be on the roster, but Collins not playing in the playoffs. So again, I think this just speaks to the urgency of the moment. You know, Calvin Booth said a couple years ago that he feels like he is the architect. And he is the steward and the overseer of the Nikola Jokic era with Denver, and this is just a part of it. Now, again, there are some players that are going to be around the 28th spot that they can target come next week. By the way, the NBA draft, y'all, it's coming up. I believe it's on the 26th. We're about 6 days away from the NBA draft, so literally it is right around the corner. And so I think that absolutely Ayo should be a player they should be targeting, because there's so many things that I think that he could offer the Nuggets as a whole. You know, this last year, 12 points a game for Ayo, 2.8 rebounds, 3.2 assists. He shot 56.8% from 2, 40% from 3 on 3.9 attempts a game. Now, again, if you're asking me, are the odds high that they can do this? No. 1,000% no. No, absolutely not. Because if I'm the Bulls, I'm perfectly fine with having AO on my roster, and I'm valuing the fact that he does things that you need. But on the other end of this, if I'm the Nuggets, then I'm doing what I have to do to be aggressive to go after a player like this. And again, especially if Josh Giddey is like the bar for Caruso. Caruso is a better player than AO and a more valuable player traditionally as well. And so if this is the deal, maybe because he's a younger upside, player that they have on their roster, they'll be a little bit more stringent to get rid of him. But this is just it. This is just it. And we're going to talk about this too, and I've talked about this, Joshua, and you probably heard me say this before. Chris Dunn, Tristan Newton, we're going to talk about them here in a little bit, but Chris Dunn is another player. Again, like I think we're seeing an idea here. So you look at the Thunder. The Thunder are going to have 4 ball handlers basically that they're going to be able to give the ball to: Shea, Caruso, Kaysen, Jada. That's 4 that you can trust the ball with, and you feel good making something happen, creating a shot for themselves or for their teammate. And then on the other end of this, you look at the Timberwolves, Mike Conley. You have Nickeil Alexander-Walker. You have Anthony Edwards. And then you have Monte Morris that came off the bench for them. And then on top of that, you had Karl-Anthony Towns who can create as well. Again, that's 4 or 5 ball handlers. And then Jordan McLaughlin on the bench. The Nuggets, outside of Jamal Murray, it was Reggie Jackson that you can consistently trust to be able to dribble and create. And Reggie wasn't even the best at it per se, because again, like just a little bit more limited athletically. And as the year went on, more down. And then again, you can give it to Aaron Gordon, but Aaron Gordon's not like, he doesn't have a jumper, doesn't have like the best like on-ball creation skills. And then Jokic is a big, and even though Jokic is one of the best creators in the sport, period, and ever, the other side of that is the fact that Joker, as a center, he still needs to be able to be given the ball in certain spots. And you need players that can take full court pressure consistently. Now, Christian Brown can do it a little bit. Peyton Watson, that's another thing. I think Peyton and Christian getting better at it is going to really be helpful for them. And especially Peyton, because Peyton just has such a long body. He's already so good in transition. That I think he's just allowing for the Nuggets to have a different kind of weapon in the open court. But again, the better he gets as a ball handler, the better he gets as a creator, the better he gets as a play starter. All that stuff is just going to help. And I think the Nuggets need to be targeting that. Because right now, based on where their roster is currently, it's Jamal Murray and it's Reggie Jackson. And then Jalen Pickett and Collin just don't get enough time, and they're just too young. So this is where AO comes in to that. And then you got the Atlanta Hawks. Now, Bogdan Bogdanović is, for many people, the ideal player that would play in this system. Now Bogey is making $17.2 million a year right now. So that would absolutely be like, you would have to give up a lot in order to accumulate that. And we're talking like Michael Porter Jr. deal for Bogey and like DeAndre Hunter and like AJ Griffin. Like it would be like MPJ, and maybe MPJ, it could be Peyton, even, or another player they want to give up that's on cheap, or even Julian Strawther, MPJ and Julian Strawther, for something that's like Bogey, for something that with DeAndre Hunter, something with AJ Griffin in there. Because again, if you're the Nuggets, you just want more ball handlers. You want more creators that can take advantage of the fact that you have Jokic and MPJ and Murray on the court, because that spacing should allow you to do some really special things as an offensive player. But you have that player that can take advantage of those opportunities. And again, Bogey is like at the apex of that, like a role player that's like almost like a Derek White. Like they overshoot their value as a 4th or 5th option, or even obviously like a Drew Holiday. Like they overshoot their value as a 4th or 5th option. Like that's the kind of player that he is. But on the other side, the NBA draft is coming up, y'all. There are going to be some players around 28 and a little bit higher, and even after that the Nuggets could be targeting that can really give them a boost come this season. And so we'll be back for all that and more here at Locked On Nuggets. PrizePicks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. PrizePicks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other apps, on PrizePicks, it's just you against the numbers. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. Get in on the daily action with your friends and become part of the PrizePicks community today. Now, y'all, if you're looking for promotions. PrizePicks has got you covered every week, from lowering select player stats projections on Tuesdays to help your lineup hit, or getting your entry fees back if you have a losing lineup on Friday. So y'all download PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. That's code LOCKEDONNBA on PrizePicks for a first deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. We'll be back for more here on Locked On Nuggets. Y'all, we are back for the final segment here at Locked On Nuggets. This is your host, Swipe. A shout out to y'all on this Thursday episode. Alex Caruso to the OKC Thunder. Y'all, make sure if you're listening to this on the podcast side, on the audio side of Apple iTunes, please give us a 5-star review. That way we can get more and more people listening to the great content here at Locked On with myself, Matt Moore, and Adam Mades. And on the other side of this, if you're listening and watching this on YouTube, make sure you share, like, and subscribe. Because, y'all, we're on the way to 8,000 subscribers here on the Locked On Nuggets channel. I want to continue to build this up to give you the best show possible, y'all. So if Caruso is gone, the Nuggets are not going to aim in free agency to load up and get the players they need to fortify their roster. What's next? Well, if you have been paying attention at all to the Twitter streets, if you've been paying attention at all to the draft report streets, Deron Holmes, the second, by the way, from Dayton, has been the projected player to the Nuggets. He averaged 20 points a game last year, 8.5 rebounds, shot 38.6% from three. He's a shot blocking big. He has a lot of versatility defensively. He's about 6'10", 230 pounds with a long wingspan, and he has a jumper, and he's a switch big. Name me the time the Nuggets have been able to have all of that. That's what Zeke Naji was supposed to be. That's what they dreamed for Zeke Naji to be. And so if the Nuggets are going to fortify their roster behind Jokic and even have a player that can really give them some high upside as the years go on, and then you could build your young core around Christian Brown, Peyton Watson, Julian Strother, and Holmes, then you're cooking, because then you're on to something, absolutely on to something. So that is a player that's been projected to the Nuggets for quite some time now, but we don't know for sure if that's going to happen. If you're not familiar, there's another player named Terrence Shannon Jr. Terrence is about 6'6", good defender, really good defender. Obviously went through a really difficult off-court issue and battle that recently just got relieved of, and so that's another option that could fall their way. He's a little bit older, around 24 years old, but again, he's just a really good player that would help them in a lot of different ways. There are a few players that could help them that are going to be around that draft range, but a lot of this is just going to come down to what do the Nuggets value and what do they feel like they need that's going to help them to be able to make that step that they need to make as a team. And again, I think making sure they're shoring up their ball handling is of the utmost importance. So even if it's, if they want to make sure they're going after a player that can help them with that, then again, maybe it's in a draft, maybe it's not. It could be Tristan Newton. There's also some word about him as well. But on the other end of this, I think they also need to fortify their big man unit. Like the fact of the matter is that the Nuggets off the bench just haven't had a competent big they can go back to consistently. Because even Mason Plumlee years, he was really good, but he had some stuff that he just didn't do at a really high level. Then obviously they had Jay Hartenstein for a little bit, but at the time he just wasn't a developed player. They moved on. They obviously Malone didn't use him a whole lot. They had Boogie Cousins, best offensive backup center they had 21 points, I think, in Game 5 versus the Golden State Warriors. So he definitely has some stuff that he's able to do well as well. But really, since that point, this is just where they've been. The Nuggets have just not had a player that they can consistently go to at the big spot off the bench. And I think as Jokic is approaching his age 29 season, it's just going to be really important for them to continue to find players that can make his life a little bit easier as time goes on. Now, again, that doesn't mean anything, because Jokic very well could win an MVP next year, again, his fourth. But they just need to continue to do what they have to do to fortify. And then Tristan Newton's another option as well. Tristan was a really good player at Connecticut. He's about 6'5", 195 pounds. He was NCAA Final Four most outstanding player. Again, Will he be within the Denver Nuggets range? It is possible. He might even be there a little bit later than some of the mocks are projecting for him. But on the other end of this, they have to have that plan in the second round that if we do decide that, hey, we want to go after Holmes, we want to go after Newton, we want to make sure that we're getting the players that fit what we're doing. And again, I think for me, Newton kind of fits that Andrew Nembhard role. I don't know if y'all remember, but Peyton, he was selected right after Peyton Watson in the 2022 NBA draft. And Nembhard has been a really good player for the Pacers, but that's because he's a taller on-ball combo guard. Taller on-ball combo guard that offers a lot of versatility as a scorer, as a playmaker, and he's a good defender because of how big and athletic he is. I think Newton is a player in that similar category, a bigger guard that has defensive upside, has some offensive upside, but again, it's just going to take some development, but he's a mature player, and again, 23 years old, a 6'7" wingspan basically, and they're listed at about 6'3" or so. So again, getting size, getting versatility, giving some defensive ability as well. So y'all, that's going to do it here at Locked On Nuggets. This is your host, Swiper. What did y'all think about Caruso ending up with the OKC Thunder? What do you think the Denver Nuggets are going to need to do in the next week or so to be able to fortify this roster and make sure they're staying atop the Western Conference? Let me know what y'all think. This is Swiper. This is Locked On Nuggets. See y'all on the other side.